Hello and welcome to Sheffield Hopcast, our first episode of February, and just the four of us this week. We haven't got a guest, but we're getting nice and cozy and a little bit loved up because it's a week until Valentine's Day, so we are making this our Valentine's special. So we've each picked a beer, something along those kind of lines. That is the rough theme of the beer choices for this week. As ever, we've left it open for people to interpret it as they wish. And Sean just picks his own theme, so we'll see what he's come up with. Let's go to Adam first. Hello, Adam. How are you doing? And
Good
what's
evening.
your beer?
I'm all right. Yeah. I have picked a beer from Brew by Numbers, and I'm not sure whether we've ever done a Brew by Numbers beer, actually, weirdly. And this is an Imperial Goza. It's a blackberry and raspberry, and I thought the colour of it, James, is something you're going to love. And the taste, I imagine. But yeah, bright red.
Right. So representing
the colour of love.
The colour of love. If you're blimey, if you're not watching the video of this, if you're just listening to the podcast, you are really missing out, because that is about as red a beer as I've ever seen.
It's the strongest Goza I've ever done. It's 6.8%. It's quite. You tend to have them really strong, do you? I don't know. I've never come across one that has, but yeah.
You get some brewers like Wonder Beyond make quite powerful ones that go up to like 8, 9, 10%, don't they?
This is a blackberry and raspberry one. It came in a collection that I ordered from them. It's not why I ordered from them, but it's what I ended up getting in the end. But I've had 5 or 6 of these, and this is my last one. So I've really enjoyed it. It's nice. I recommend it if you can get hold of it.
Good stuff.
It's number 19, I think. Is that 19? I think it is.
It is 19, yeah. It's a rather chunky 19 on that can, isn't
it? How did you buy that, Adam? Just out of interest.
Facebook.
Did you buy it online? I mean, direct from Brew by Numbers.
I did, and it bollocksed up. Yeah, like everybody else's did. This is what I was hinting to it last time, but yeah, I got some beers in the end. Not what I wanted, but it was blessing in disguise. Maybe it was quite a decent. Enjoyed them all. So,
did you say then that you'd had 4 of those, 6 of those? Did you say
there was
that
some
particular beer?
Yeah, there was 4 or 5. I think there was some Pilsners, a Mosaic Session, a DDH, this, and a 10% cherry stout. Yeah. I think it was like a variety. So it was kind of like 4, 5, 6 of each, depending on what beer it was. But. But not bad. I wanted the IPAs, but I think I don't know what happened, but I think a lot of people didn't end up getting them. So I kind of said you can have a box of whatever these beers, whatever cost or variety you want, or you can have a variety one. I can't remember bothered to pick through them, so send me a variety one, and we'll be done with it. But yeah, enjoyed them. Been good. I've not had that many Brew by Numbers beers for a long time, but I always used to really rate them. So. Yeah, they've been good.
Good stuff. Right. Laura, what have you gone for?
So mine's got a few kind of things that I love involved. It's a beer style, and which is mild, which I'm sure I've banged on about before, how much I love mild, but it's a special one. It's Boxcar Double Dark Mild. I've had their normal dark mild before, which is 3 point something. Can't remember. 3.6. So they've done this as 6.3. And I also thought it's a beer style that, whilst I have loved their mild in can before, it's also a beer that I love on cask. So I thought I can talk about how much I love cask in my cask tankard, and feel a little bit nostalgic with love for the pub while I was drinking this, as well as the beer. So yeah, I bought 6 different beers from Boxcar. I got myself a few cans of this one because I was fairly confident I was going to like it, and then a few others. Only had one of them so far, which was a West Coast Pale, which was lovely. So looking forward to this.
So this is the first time that you've had that particular beer?
The double dark mild, yeah. I've had the normal dark mild before, but this is.
Can I just to add as well, it's a cracking can. That is a beautiful can.
All of the cans that I got from them, they're just absolutely stunning, and they're all they're all quite purpley, so they look really nice next to each other. Also matches my curtains.
It does, yeah.
But yeah, so I also got a pastel, like lavender coloured t-shirt as well. So yeah, I've gone heavy on the purple with my order from Boxcar.
Cool. Right. Like it. Right. Okay. Sean.
Yeah, I'm sticking quite boringly to theme, I suppose, this time round, and I liked the fact that we were looking at Valentine's, but I knew that at least three of us wouldn't come up with a pink beer. Obviously, Adam has ticked that box for us. I've supped beer for a fair few years, not as many years as lots of other people, having come from the sort of macro lager Barnsley drinking sort of scene, and I think I have finally found the beer I would like to marry. I never really considered marrying a beer before, but I've had this now twice, perhaps even three times already. I did a nice post online 2 or 3 days ago and felt that the romantic nature of today's theme fitted nicely, because I love the beer, and I'm really pushed hard. North Riding Mosaic. I once had a pint of Brasscastle Sunshine at the Grove in Huddersfield on a scorching hot day on keg that just nailed my palate. But I can't think of a beer that satisfies my palate more than Neepsend Hierro, an American pale ale, 4.6%. I'll go and get my glasses and tell you. In fact, they're here, so I can tell you exactly what hops are in there. It's bitter, it's piney, it's just absolute perfection for what I want to drink. The hops in it are Summit, Centennial, and Eureka. So probably not Centennial, real good old school hop. Summit and Eureka, you wouldn't necessarily nail as sort of A-listers, but this beer is perfect for my palate, and we may even get a proposal to the can before we finish tonight.
Well, there's something to look forward to.
There you go.
So what is it that makes it spectacular, or is it just kind of like the balance of all the things that you like?
It is just beautifully balanced. It is very simple. There's nothing idiotic thrown in there. There's nothing even sensible thrown in there other than the 4 key ingredients, and it just nails everything. The aroma is just beautiful. Perhaps just a touch of sweetness to the aroma there, as I was just having a sniff of the can. But if anybody wants to know what I like to drink, all they need to do is grab a can of this from Neepsend, and I think it works well in can. I think I probably prefer it can, keg, than to cask maybe, although Neepsend are the kings of cask, of course. But if anybody wants to know what my palate wants, drink that. And I know Adam has already. That is what my gob wants. Is the bottom line.
Neepsend managed to do something with their cans, and someone made a comment, and I read it, and I thought that's exactly what I think. They seem to manage to replicate almost like their cask beer in a can, but not sort of like, but still in the kind of can. I don't know. Yeah. It's like a mouthfeel. It's like you're right. It's really bitter, but I get a really kind of a cream soda a creamy kind of, I don't know, like a
sherbet.
But I smell it as well, and it's like but their beers, it just reminds me of drinking their cask beer in a pub when I drink their cans. They're not been canning for very long, have they? But I picked up that one, and I picked up the I can never remember the names because they're all stupid. But it's called a hazy IPA or something. It's got like a dark green can.
Bahalamut or something.
Yeah, I mean that were really good as well. I mean, I wouldn't have said it looked like you'd expect from a classic hazy. It was quite dark, so it always like quite murky in appearance. But I really, really, really like that as well. So,
Laura, can I ask a question? Are there canning techniques that would take one type of can closer to its sort of cask feel, and another type of can further away from its cask fill? Are there different techniques that would allow what Adam's suggesting? I agree with Adam, actually.
You can condition. I don't know if Neepsend do or not.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
But yeah, I don't really. I'm probably not the expert, to be honest, in that kind of area.
Out of our little group of 4, you are definitely the expert.
Well, whatever it is, I have to say the head retention on this was a bit disappointing.
Oh yeah.
But luckily it tastes great. But
looks like you got a pint of Coke there.
I know. I'm glad you saw me pour it from the can, because otherwise you would have thought I had Coke.
Yeah, we would.
Do you think, Laura? Do you think that people who brew miles, do you think they should just not bother canning and just go for the? Is mild probably or perhaps even a best bitter? Are they both beers that really should just be on cask and let's leave it at that? Or do you think there's room?
I think there's definitely room. There aren't that many, I suppose, at the moment, but I think it's the kind of thing, like, especially with what's going on with pubs and things, I think offering beers that are more likely to be found in cask and can is a great idea. And I think at the moment as well, like for Boxcar, their dark mild is probably their most famous beer. So it's kind of like a USP for them, and it's absolutely fantastic. So I think there's definitely, I don't think it's ever going to be as popular as, pales and IPAs and things. But I think there's definitely a place for them.
Red Willow's Ruby Mild is an absolute beauty, and is around at the moment, actually. So I think that's a great example. I've had one and I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I had one the other week, and that really had me hankering to get to the pub as well.
Right, I suppose I better tell you what my beer is, isn't it? So when I think of Valentines and romance and passion and love, there are 2 words that come to mind.
Do you think of me? Is it Sean Clark?
It's not Sean Clark, although it's not far off. The words I think of are salty kiss. That's what I've gone for. Magic Rock and Salty Kiss. It's been around forever, hasn't it? It's been around for so many years. Not had it for ages. Gooseberry Goza, which is quite hard to say. And yeah, kind of available everywhere now. It's all over the place. But yeah, ages since I've had it, so I can't even remember what it's like.
Do you know what? I can't remember. I won't even know what colour it is when you pour it. Is it just like a
I think it's just like a
beer colour?
I think
because you kind of since that's probably one of the first ones I ever remember, probably as a commercially or like from kind of a modern point of view. But since then, you see much more goes as kind of these kind of fruited ones, don't you? And with that being a fruit, I don't know what I were expecting that to look like anymore. It has been so long since I've had one, but yeah, always a really good summer drink. That
it's just it's quite thick. It's pretty. Can't see very much through that. I don't know how strong it is. I seem to think that it's not very
4.2 or something.
Very strong. 4.1. So yes. So, cheers. Here's to Valentine's Day.
Not be getting up to a lot this year.
No. Interesting. The subject of cask has come up a few times, hasn't it? Because when was the last time anyone had a pint of cask something? Can you cheat, Laura? Can you get cask like via the brewery?
We do. We have actually just started doing cask takeaway. Like, obviously, it has to be pre-ordered and things like that. But we have got a cask up that we can pull into. We pre-order it and then pull it when they come and collect it, and off they go. So I might have been able to do a little bit of quality control. But in terms of an actual pint, it will have been, in fact, the day before Sheffield went into tier, whatever it was, tier 3 when the pubs closed. We went to the Wagon and Horses at Millhouses, which isn't a pub that we go to all that often. It's just a bit further out than usual. But the True North pubs were doing like a seafood week thing. So we went for food more than anything. And the only cask beer that they had left, because it was the literal last day of them opening, was Black Mass, which is a 6.6% dark beer.
6.66. Come on, Laurie. Right.
6.66. So we drank quite a lot of pints of that because we knew we weren't going to be able to get any in a while.
I'm looking forward to having a pint of that because I think it's a beer that I
time.
always didn't think I'd be bothered about because I think is it classed as a strong dark or something, and it actually tastes pretty much like a really good black IPA to me. And I've had some cans during lockdown. I've just kind of avoided it because there's been something else I'd rather drink. I don't think I've ever. I don't know if you've been doing it on cask recently or not, but yeah, I'll be looking forward to having a pint of that. I know exactly what beer I had. My last beer, cask. It's disappointing as well. Do you think of the most disappointing pint of cask beer that you could possibly have? I'll let you have a guess. It's not local either.
Doombar.
Doombar, well done.
Doombar.
I had a pint of Doombar when we went away. We didn't sneak off, but we disappeared on holiday that a few days before we were going into tier 3. So that would have been in October. And I went to like a vintage inns pub down in the New Forest, and that was literally the only cask beer they had on. So I had it. So yeah, that's the last time I ever had cask beer in October.
I think we might have just made it into November because I think we walked home and came through, went a long way home to go through Millhouses Park, so there were loads of fireworks and things going off. So I'm sure it was early November. But
I honestly can't remember.
time ago.
I've got a feeling, that mine might have been at the end of August.
Vicky.
Yeah, we had a August bank holiday Sunday. I had a walk from home up through Wentworth, where I had a pint of cask moonshine, and we went to Harley, had a pint of Neepsend Blonde, and then we ended up at the Commercial in Chapeltown, which is an outstanding pub for cask beers. And I think I finished on a pint of Acorn Gorlovka there on the afternoon, sat in the benches right down the back with a river just running down, little beck running down behind. It was a lovely time, and I think it was then. Yeah, I think
I remember you posting about that as well. God, it's a lifetime.
It's a real it's a scorching day. We took some Waitrose pork pie with us to have on the way, and enjoyed it. So I don't think I've had a cask pint since. I am close to proposal though to Hierro, and my third or fourth can, I'm still besotted by Hierro's beauty.
Does that only exist in can then, or has it been brewed in other formats before?
Yeah, I'm guessing. I don't know, but I'm guessing that this is a Neepsend beer that's been brewed before and would have been available on cask, but I don't know that yet. I've not.
So you've not had it on cask?
No.
Because I think you might explode if you have it on cask. I think.
Yeah, I like.
We need an ambulance standing by.
Yeah, I'm particularly enjoying the real crisp coldness with it being in the can. So I've got a feeling that with it being a really sort of hoppy, bitter American pale, that probably keg would really suit that. I'm not sure whether Neepsend have kegged anything before, but I'd love to try all 3 variants, and I'd probably marry all 3. Is that allowed?
I don't
Can't
know what the rules are.
3 wives or husbands,
objects.
But you could have 3 beers.
You would be a beergamist. That's it. I've peaked now. I'm going. That's me. Nothing else. And so any thoughts on these? I know it's been kind of played down, but this talk about potentially pubs reopening in April, but dry, so pubs without any alcohol. And we've all talked about this before, haven't we? About how, the kind of venues that we go in, it just feels quite unfair as to how harshly they've been treated. And again, for those places that don't, I think about probably the majority of places that I really like, just they don't sell food. They can't, they won't. It's pointless talking about them reopening as a dry pub. It's just.
I was I was working with Kate yesterday at the shop. Kate, who co-owns the Crow and the Rutland, and we were trying to come up with some analogies for pubs opening but not being able to sell alcohol. So somebody suggested a fish and chip shop opening but not being allowed to sell fish and chips. But Kate came up with the best one that she'd picked up somewhere. She said it was like a brothel opening but only for cuddles. And so
I was thinking it's like I'm going to swim baths, but there's no water in.
Yeah. So it does seem slightly laughable that it could potentially. Where is this rumor come from? Is there some white paper or something been disclosed to one of the broadsheets or something that?
Something along those lines, isn't it? It's leaked.
Do you know what though? If there's any truth,
some sort, but it was played down.
If there's any truth to it whatsoever, then it does kind of prove what I thought. And it's like they're not blaming the pubs; they're blaming drinkers in pubs.
Yeah.
And if that is true, then they should have just said that. They should have said we can't trust people who are intoxicated to social distance or do whatever, and not have all these pubs having to just keep going on about how much that they're penalising pubs. It's like they're not penalising pubs; they're penalising people who go to pubs who drink alcohol, which then you kind of go, okay, yes, I can see that, and that's why cafes are open, and that's why whatever else is open that's not,
It still doesn't make sense, though, does it? Because pubs
It's
reopened
pointless.
for a while, and there wasn't this explosion in
It
cases.
took a while for it to kind of.
So it still doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that like
And cases have not exactly completely stopped since pubs closed again, have they? So it still doesn't feel like it adds up. It still feels like it's not balanced. It's way skew if it's just.
Yeah,
it's weird, isn't it? But it's gonna we're potentially looking at weeks and weeks and weeks again, aren't we? Before we're gonna have any sort of option of that, and obviously the no takeaway thing as well. And it's I feel for pubs at the moment, it's crap.
Yeah, that's the bizarrest one going. I think that's like.
Well, that seems to be just because like they were just. I think it seems like it was just down in London. There were places opening, people just standing out on the street as if it was like a normal day of just getting beers, standing out, drinking them.
Yeah, I mean, I think I went for a run through the park, and like within like an actual penned-in play park bit, I counted, 60. I think I counted 60 plus people. Nobody with masks or social distancing. It's like that's okay, but someone can't go and independently go and pick up an order from a shop, a beer shop. It's like there doesn't seem to be any real consistency at all.
I saw an article the other day that I can't remember exactly what it was, so I'm going to terribly misquote here, but it was something to do with some alcohol related incidents of, like I said, I can't remember whether it was people presenting as alcoholics or something along those kinds of lines, and saying how much that has increased in the last year, with a picture of pint glasses on a pub table, and somebody was like, this is just lazy journalism. Like if that is the case, and alcohol abuse is on the rise over the last 6 months to a year, that's not the pubs. They haven't been open for people to behave in that way. That's something related to home consumption and that kind of thing. But yet it's still the kind of instinct of the media is to put that back on the pubs as well, and that's kind of the link that they're making, which is just really unfair. And I just can't quite get my head around how every single time anything is announced to do with the restrictions, I've said this before, it comes down the hardest on pubs, and it's like, how many more things can they do? I certainly think if I can't really think of any pubs that would open if they weren't able to serve alcohol.
No, doesn't make any sense, does it?
Yeah. But then there's possibly space for, like back in the days of Prohibition, there's a temperance bar that's now an antique shop on Abbeydale Road, and they were quite popular around the Abbeydale area. And is there space for something like that to kind of make a bit more of an appearance? There's a lot of breweries and businesses making kind of craft soft drinks and that kind of thing. I don't think it would be a replacement for pubs in the slightest. But it's that kind of thing that might open up as a temporary thing. It's happened before. But yeah, I certainly don't think a lot of the pubs that I would want to go to would be able to manage. And the other thing that I've seen from pub managers is, they don't want to open on half measures when all that's going to do is not help contribute to cases staying low and that kind of thing. It's sort of meaningless opening and not waiting until it's completely safe to just get back to normal. It's kind of elongating the process even more by offering just these tiny little bits of business that can come their way. So
it's just completely illogical, and I can't remember if I've told this story on the podcast before, but have I mentioned about my trip to see Hallam FC before Christmas?
I don't know if you did actually. No.
So and this is just an example. So they were allowed to have fans in for games before Christmas. I can't remember how many it was. I think it was something like 300 fans or 250 or something. I can't remember. But
which is they don't get that anyway, do they? So.
Were allowed in, but obviously they're not allowed to open their clubhouse bar to sell beer. But technically, you'd be allowed to bring your own beer in with you, so you could bring your beer from home, and they could sell beer for takeout. So the people that were inside the ground to watch the football match couldn't buy beer from the clubhouse unless they then left. They would have to leave the ground afterwards, but they could bring in their own from home, and it just doesn't make any sense. So you end up with this situation of potentially pubs being able to open for people to go in and not buy beer, but they're then able to sell beer to deliver to people who aren't in the pub, and you just end up with this complete arse around tit way of doing things that just doesn't make any sense. And that's something that we've seen loads of times where actually this stuff just doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense. If they're saying it's just not safe for people to be in a relatively confined building fairly close together, which is what happens in pubs. It's kind of inevitable what happens in pubs. We saw last summer that we did the best that we could in terms of social distancing and stuff, and some pubs did a fantastic job of that. But the idea of pubs is that you're quite close together, isn't it? That's always going to be the case. So if they're saying it's not safe, then just say it's not safe. Don't kind of go, well, yeah, it's actually safe if you've not got a pint of beer in your hand, because that makes absolutely no flipping difference at all. That's just crap. If you're saying people can't be trusted because they get drunk, then that's a different problem that you've got to try and solve. That's not pubs' fault. That's got nothing to do with pubs. Like, I mean, I don't know, we may maybe the four of us live a sheltered life because we do tend to go to the same kind of venues, don't we? And there are places there are all places where people are fairly sensible and they're quite considerate of each other, and they're not there to kind of cause a raucous or anything. They're pretty fairly nice, good people who just want to have a couple of drinks with the friends and then probably head off home. Maybe it is different at other places. I don't know, because I didn't see it during the summer, but it just ain't going to work, is it? It's no good for anyone. It's no good for pubs. It's no good for people. It's just it's daft. And Laura, what you were saying about if there's evidence that more people have got a negative relationship with alcohol now, well, in actual fact, the pub being open would probably stop that happening, because when you drink with friends, it's a very different experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Drinking at home is for anyone, when you think about that, like the idea of drinking at home that's bad, isn't it? It's like it's this negative sort of thing of getting drunk by yourself at home and stuff. No one wants to do that. So it's no surprise that not being able to go to the pub and see friends and stuff like that actually leads more people to spiral into this, a negative situation.
Yeah. I've actually found the thing that I was referring to as well while we've been chatting. It was something that Roger Protz shared, who Roger's been really, really vocal about, supporting pubs and highlighting evidence and kind of the just completely wacky nature of what's being done and how it doesn't relate to evidence. So he's been a really interesting and helpful person to kind of keep following on social media recently. But he shared something that was about the BBC News showing a video of pubs about a report that deaths from alcohol were at an all-time high, and using beer glasses as the image of choice relating to alcohol rather than anything to do with wine and spirits. So it was kind of around that. So yeah, I was not too far off my point before, but that's what I was referring to before, just to clarify.
It did make me wonder, actually, this talking about, like, well, not necessarily alcohol abuse, but sort of drinking sort of antisocially, I suppose. And there'll be a lot of people who probably use maybe a pint at the pub after work, or just to kind of, whether that's to calm them down, chill them out, whatever, or get away from something that might be happening at home or whatever. And it might make me wonder, like, what are those people doing now who maybe were secretly going to the pub for reasons of get a bit of time away from something.
People for whom that
And maybe
was
they are them people who are drinking
the
a
people
street
for
corner.
whom going to the pub was their only social activity. You mentioned Kate earlier, Sean. She's done an interview recently with Katie Matter, who's an excellent beer writer, about kind of the value of pubs that is beyond just drinking. That's really, really lovely. And Kate's saying, there are people who are customers in her pubs, but she considers them as, they're people that she genuinely cares about, and she just has no way of getting in contact with them. There might be older people who, she's not just going to ring them up or anything. That the kind of social interaction she has with them is seeing them face to face in her pub, and now she has no idea of how they are or what they've been up to for pretty much a year. And if the man who comes in a couple of pints every Tuesday and Thursday, what is he doing now? And
you're right. It ties into the same thing. I kind of talk about it's like a haven. It's somewhat like a place where, apart from the actual drinking point, it is a place where maybe people feel comfortable, supported, have company, or just their own company if that's what they need. And especially winter nights where there's nowhere to escape to, and that's maybe the only place they feel comfortable with. Take the alcohol out of the equation, it's something maybe I've not really thought about too much of. But weirdly, you bringing that up, actually, I was thinking about it the other day, wondering what are those people doing who, then people just do spend a lot of time in pubs and for their own reasons, but they don't have that anymore. Are they those people who are now struggling, maybe drinking, bad, more, or at home just because, take the mind off it, I suppose. I don't know.
There'll be lots of individual stories, Adam. No, there'll be lots of individual stories. Some it might break a damaging cycle.
Yeah, you're right.
So some may be benefiting from that. Others won't be benefiting from it. So I think I've no idea whether there's any sort of statistics or anything, but it seems that a lot more people, because we're allowed to do exercise, be it a nice long walk each day. Certainly during lockdown 1, it seemed that a lot more people were focusing more on spending their time out walking and exercising. The number of runners and joggers that we see around here, even just on the cold days these last few weeks, is remarkable. That seems to have leapt up incredibly. So it will have allowed some people to perhaps focus on other things and other things that might have benefited them. It could have led some people down a darker alley, and hopefully they've got friends and family and some sort of support that would be able to help them through that, certainly. And online, of course, we perhaps shouldn't forget that the online world during a pandemic is an incredible saviour for many people, and to have had this type of thing happen when there were no mobile phones and no computers and much more difficulty in communicating with the people, perhaps sounds terrible, but then back then I suppose there was much more community support to replace the online community support, I suppose. So we all find different communities at different times in life, don't we, that tend to benefit us.
Sorry, go on. It's okay.
I was just going to be twee and just say that I'm really grateful that while we're on a Valentine's Day theme of love, I'm really grateful that we've been able to continue doing our little meetups, even though it has been online. It's really been something that I've looked forward to throughout all of this, and I'm sure none of us thought when we did the first one in March we'd still be here in February the year after. But I'm really glad that we've been able to keep doing it and keep in contact and keep chatting about beer. So
Me too.
Well said.
Cheers, Laura.
I think I think I was just going to add. Do you know of anybody who are doing kind of virtual pub meetings rather than kind of, necessarily it being a talk about beer or a festival? Just hey, we've got a room, we've got a virtual room here for anybody who usually comes to X pub to chat. I mean, I don't know.
I think
whether
there are
that's
lots of
become a
those, Adam. Yeah,
probably,
I think there are lots of those. I know during lockdown one particularly. I don't actually know, and I've got an interesting story about cask in a second as well. But during lockdown one, Waff Tap continued to operate their twice weekly quiz. They just switched it to a Facebook Live, and so we entered a fair few of those. And talking of Waff, I on my way home last night dropped off some beers to some really good customers of ours, and put the boxes down with my mask on, nice and safe, just at their door. And they stood back and said, "Just have a quick peek, just to the left. Just put your head just into our door." So sheepishly, I just sort of leaned forward and looked to my left, and there was a 9-gallon cask of beer sat there. And so should I name the brewery? Are you allowed to deliver 9-gallon casks to homes? But a brewery that is very close to my heart had delivered into South Yorkshire last week, and because they know the brewers really well, they had delivered 72 pints of North Riding Mosaic. Let's just get it out there. They delivered 72 pints of North Riding Mosaic, and that was sat there waiting to be sucked out. I should add that there are a few people that live at the property, and so that's not all down to just
you're going to smash
one or two people, but a really lovely family who love North Riding Mosaic, and they've got a fair few. I think they've got a week off coming up, and so they were planning to get that road
for a week off.
To get that,
what are you doing with your week off? 72
bad boy.
Yeah, they're very adventurous people and like to visit different places, but their visit was a beer visit. We could do that actually. That could be a theme potentially, to bring a beer that takes us to a different place. Could be a nice idea. Where would the what would the beer be, and where would it take us, in that we're all stuck at home most of the time and desperate to leave the 4 boxes of Zoom. Where would it?
Walls of Zoom.
Yeah, where would it take us? Yeah, where does?
I know exactly what beer I would use.
I do already.
There you go. Next week.
Right.
There you go. So next week,
yeah.
next time, whatever.
Fortnight's time, we'll do that. It's a good plan. That I like it.
What shall we call? Wish we were there. Wish we were there. Used to be called. What did it used to be called?
Wish we were here.
Wish you were here.
Yeah. Wish we were there. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, good call. What's your beer like, Sean? Are we going to see a live?
Yeah.
A live proposal.
I need to do some more research into what Hierro means. Hierro sounds like a nippy winger that Leeds might have signed in the last 12 months. Is there a player, James, called Hierro?
I don't think so. I believe it's Greek.
They're usually like gods and stuff, aren't they?
And it means, sacred or holy, which according to Wikipedia, which obviously doesn't lie. So,
right, okay. Well, Hierro Clark, I suppose it would be if Hierro chose.
You'll be my Hierro baby.
Yeah,
it's getting a little bit weird now.
It's perfection, and I'm sure a fair number of people will drink this and think, what the bloody hell is he on about, wanting to marry his perfect beer? But for me, that beer just nails it. For my palate, that beer nails it, and there's not much point. Look, I might have come to the end of my beer journey, which
That's it
which
now.
yeah,
Completed it.
that's it's probably it. Yeah, there's no point going on, I suppose.
Wow.
I'll try.
Powerful words from Sean Clark and his beer to be Hero Clark. Can't say it. Right, Adam. Good beer.
Yeah, I've finished it. It's gone. I'll be sad to see it go actually now, but yeah, top stuff. Like a turbocharged Florida Ice kind of vibe. Not too much salt to it, but it doesn't. You would never think it was 6.8. To be honest, I don't know what. I struggle to find strength in sort of sourish beers anyway, but yeah, really enjoyed it. I've definitely not had any of that kind of style from Brew by Numbers. I always kind of champion their classic sort of, well, would have been IPAs and pales, wouldn't they? Sort of kernel. I was like level pegging with kernel at one bit. I always thought that kind of simple, down the road kind
just
of
doing a style and doing
solid
it well.
things. Yeah. So yeah. I don't know whether you stock them, Sean. Do you stock much anymore? You used to do.
Not anymore. We used to stock almost everything that they released, and we probably haven't had anything in for about 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
Demand dropped off. They almost became. I don't know if I'm embarrassed is the right word, but embarrassed by their original nature. Brew by Numbers. I noticed the can had got a number on it. But was now is creatively designed to not really reflect it as a number. Have you got the can there?
Yeah, it's 9. Just as it used to have a number and then a style reference.
It used to have a style reference first. So 0101, I think, was a citrus saison. So 01 was the style saison, and then 01 was their first brew of a saison, and that was a citrus saison. So I think IPA used to be 05 or 07.
Yeah.
Double IPAs were 55. So 5501 was their first ever brew of a dipper. 5502. But they've drifted away from that. But they're called Brew by Numbers, and so I liked that concept at the time, and miss it a little bit. Whereas that can now, Adam. What is the number?
19.
Yeah, it says 19, and it says it in a designer way that makes it doesn't look like a 19. You'd have to know it's a 19, I think, to know it. So they almost became a little bit they perhaps felt trapped by their original idea, a little bit like Cloudwater used to do the V1, V2, V3 dippers and so on. And in the end, you get trapped, and they were up to V20 or something.
Gets a bit daft after a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think the Brew by Numbers sort of concept did, but they clearly thought it did, and have jumped away from that quite a bit.
It's true what you said. I think they were talked about in the same vein as Kernel for a bit, and that does seem to have changed. Like, well, I think we talked about, didn't we, about really good examples of beer styles just done really nice, simple, no messing about, and you don't hear them talked about anything like as
Brewdog invested in them, didn't they? When they were quite small, and they were
right at the start.
When they were invested into sort of helping people out, like, well, they were enjoying it at the time, I think so. But don't know whether they have any dealing with them now, but
I don't think they do.
Laura, pint of Coke, what was it like?
Didn't taste anything like Coke, thankfully. Despite what it looked like, it was actually like really full-bodied, really, really tasty. Reminded me a little bit Christmassy. Just that nice kind of warming, festive. I don't know if that's just because I really like it, so it made me feel seasonally appropriate. But I really enjoyed it. Like, a little bit fruity, really, really nice malt character. And I'm very glad I got a second can.
Good stuff. Salty Kiss, incredibly drinkable. Actually, I didn't. I mean, obviously, I got this just for the cheap pun of Salty Kiss for Valentine's Day. I wasn't that fussed about drinking it, but it's actually really nice. I've enjoyed it. You definitely do get the gooseberry, but it's fairly gentle. It's not overpowering. It's not too sour. It's not too salty. It's just quite a nice little drink. I was just kind of surprised that this really sort of caught on, because you just kind of think, with the average, like, you get it in some supermarkets and stuff, don't you? I can't imagine people buying something like that in a supermarket, but actually it's not particularly offensive. So, obviously must do all right. So good choices all round. Well done. team. Impressed with that. So 2 weeks' time, then we are going for a "Wish We Were There" theme, as picked by Sean, who'll forget between now and 2
Oh
weeks.
no, I won't. I won't. I'm a holiday lover. So
So just make sure you got a bottle of Mosaic, and
I might have to have 3 beers or something. I might have to have 3. I've already thought of 10. But I actually know. I think I know which one would be my number one, and I've still got the glass that I sucked my thought in. So yeah, but I might have 3.
All right. So what we're going to do next time is we'll record as normal, and then us 3 will all vanish. We'll just leave Sean with you. We'll just drink his other 9 beers and just ramble nonsense about.
Anyway, yeah, it'll be like anyway. Yeah, we got up about 9. We had a lovely breakfast. The hotel manager gave us a wave as we left.
Brilliant. Right then, we'll be back in a fortnight. We'll see you then. See you later.
Goodbye.
Happy Valentine's Day.